Welcome to VNTV. I'm Jackie Nguyen, television reporter. Next year, 2012, nationwide, we will be going to the polls and voting for the next president of the United States. And locally here in San Diego, we also have several key important races, including the mayoral race. Now, as part of VNTV's commitment for the next several months until the primary election in June 2012, we will be highlighting political candidates who are running in key races. Now, we feel that it's important for you to get to know these leaders, what they stand for, and why you should get involved and vote. Tonight, we kick off our series of political candidates. Here in the studio right now with me is San Diego mayoral candidate Carl DeMaio. He is also the city councilman for District 5. Now, his four key important priorities as city councilman are fiscal responsibility, open and honest government, clean and safe neighborhoods, and quality jobs. Welcome, Carl DeMaio.
Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Absolutely. Now, first, I would like to say thank you for stopping by and allowing us this opportunity for an intimate chat with you. Now, Carl, you're one of three Republican candidates here running for mayor in San Diego. Share with us, please, how do you plan or how do you distinguish yourself from the other two Republican candidates?
Well, I'm the only businessman running for mayor, and I think we need a business approach at City Hall so that we can solve these problems. The financial crisis that continues to result in our services being cut, our roads are falling apart, and our debt continues to climb. We need to make tough decisions, and we need to rethink how city government operates. I'm a businessman, and I bring that business experience to the table. I've been able to make tough decisions, and I can bring in city government programs under budget like you have to in a business. So I think that's my main distinction. But also, I have a record of results. I've been a government watchdog for many years, uncovering the city's financial problems, standing up for the working family and the people, trying to get common sense reform enacted. And we've been able to produce a pretty impressive record of results in terms of budget changes and taxpayer savings over the past 6-7 years that I've been a watchdog locally.
And speaking of that nickname that you embrace here, San Diego's taxpayers watchdog here, it's a nickname that suits you well as well. That's a compliment because you're out there fighting for our community here. But as mayor of San Diego, when you're elected into office, how do you plan to unite different groups versus dividing different groups?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, as a businessman, what I always would do is I would walk in and build consensus. In politics, they use a different word. It's always about collaboration and compromise. And I think that means that most politicians don't want to rock the boat. They want everyone to get around the table and feel good. We have serious problems in our city. Our services are unacceptably low. Our roads are in disrepair. And we need to make the decisions that we have to make to get those services back to fix our financial problems. And so I'm someone who builds consensus. And that's where that track record of results comes in. A lot of times when we lay out a reform plan, changes that will benefit taxpayers, the lobbyists, the labor unions, and the politicians all say no, can't do it, can't get it done. And what we do is we continue to apply pressure, public pressure, until the politicians finally give in and act and do the right thing. So I'm someone who likes to talk about consensus, and that's far more effective than simply coming in trying to make people feel good through some compromise.
Absolutely. A great point that you brought up there. And share with us here, I see you have a roadmap to recovery.
Sure.
Your 90-page book here. I know we've done a few stories about it. Share with us about this book and how important is it?
Well, this is my business approach to fixing the city's problems. I put together a special task force of financial experts, organizational experts, legal experts to look at the city's financial problems, particularly the pension system, and find out how can we save taxpayer money without cutting services. How can we rethink how city government works? And in 90 pages, we put pen to paper and we show how you can balance the budget. We show how you can do things differently in city government. And it really is a business plan. And that's what you do in the business world. But you know what? In government, people don't take the time to actually put specifics on the table. You know, the consultants, the political experts say, don't do this, Carl. Don't put 90 pages of specifics out there because people might disagree with some of the things that you propose. Well, guess what? We are in a financial crisis, and we have to make tough decisions. And I'm putting specifics on the table for two reasons. First, By putting details and specifics on the table, I'm trying to get other people's ideas. When they see something that they may like, they'll add to it. If they see an idea that they don't think is good enough, they can also supplement it or replace it. But also, by putting specifics on the table, I want to be held accountable. When I'm mayor, I want someone to come up to me with this book and say, Carl, on page 38, you promised to do this, that, and the other thing. And what are you doing to actually implement it? By providing specifics, I give San Diegans the opportunity to hold me accountable to deliver the results.
That's awesome, accountability, and that's what we definitely need in our local government as well as in our federal government as well. Now, some of the things that we also would like to share with you or talk to you about is, obviously the Vietnamese community, we're small, but, hopefully we're an effective group of voters as well. And many of us are apolitical, meaning we don't want to get involved because, first of all, we feel that we don't have a voice or that our voice doesn't count. How do you plan to change that when you become mayor of San Diego?
That is a great question, and it's one of the things that I think we absolutely have to make progress on if we're going to be the city that everybody wants us to be. We have to embrace our diversity, but we also have to engage communities and get them involved, get them off the sidelines, have them be part of the solution. And so part of my campaign is to reach out to very diverse communities and bring people together behind a very broad platform of change and reform in city finances. But more importantly, this isn't just about the campaign. It's about how I intend to govern. I want volunteerism. I want people to be part of nonprofits and civic organizations and community organizations, because the only way we're going to get the quality of neighborhoods that we deserve is by getting everyone off the sidelines and engaged in giving back to the community and getting involved. I recognize that particularly in the Vietnamese community, there are barriers to getting people engaged, a lot of apprehension. And what I want to do is partner with our Vietnamese civic organizations, our associations, our cultural groups to get them engaged. One quick story, the youth movement in the Vietnamese community and the Tet Festival that they put on each year. I've been a proud supporter of that because I absolutely am amazed at the young generation respecting their cultural heritage and actually doing something to celebrate it and organizing something great in Balboa Park every year. As your representative in Mira Mesa, I represent one of the largest Vietnamese communities of any council member. And so I have specifically gone to the Vietnamese community to build relationships, to listen to their issues so that I can be an effective voice for them on the city council. I take that responsibility very seriously. And I got to say, I have been able to learn so much about the Vietnamese culture, and it's been a real honor and a treat over the years to learn and to build those relationships. It's a great community, and San Diego has a lot to be proud of from the Vietnamese community's contributions.
Well, thank you so much. Well, that's one of the things, key things actually, is, it's a two-way street. We open the door, and hopefully that political candidate or the politician sees that moment and recognize it and allow us to be a part of it. And it seems like that's what you're doing now. I follow you on Facebook. I'm one of those individuals there. And one of the things I've noticed is that every week now you're highlighting somebody that you're putting in a key position in terms of your coalition. And one of the things that I've noticed that you've also talked to me about is about your Asian American coalition. You have different coalitions here. Now, what's important about those coalitions is that you're trying to unite different groups of people.
Right. Not only do we have the Asian Coalition, and these are the Pacific Islander Asian communities that really have a lot of common bonds, but you also just can't have an Asian coalition. You have to break it down to each community. And so we have a Vietnamese community. Nip Lee and Alex Nguyen are two of my initial co-chairs, but we're expanding our group even farther. Mr. Lee is an amazing community leader and goes back several decades in his contributions. Alex is one of the younger members of the Vietnamese community. So what I did was I tried to reach out to two different parts of the Vietnamese community with our co-chairs. But I want everyone involved. But we're also holding joint meetings with the Asian Coalition, with Filipinos, with the Laotian community, with the Filipinos reaching out to even their sub groups. I think I've crowned many Filipino queens in the past 6 months, But this is what makes San Diego so special. We have all this diversity, but we also have the bonds that cut across these communities and unite us all, whether as Asians and Pacific Islanders or as San Diegans generically.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the other things that I also do is I've seen you a lot on television here for the morning show. It's great. You know, it's like every week you're KUSI, Fox 5, and CW6. And you've also made national news a few times, actually more than just a few times here. And one of the most recent topics here is about the cat tax debate.
Yeah.
Share with us about why you're so passionate about this.
Well, it's one of those just perfect examples of city government out of control. They, instead of fixing their financial problems by cutting spending and really rethinking how they're spending the current money that they have, they're out there trying to grab more money from working families. And Jackie, I've heard from working families, they're already taxed enough. Their cost of living is very hard to survive in San Diego. But the city government came up with another idea to tax the cats of San Diegans. Everyone would have to pay a fee of $25 to have a cat. And this is just wrong. Trying to balance the budget on the backs of families with cats. You know, a cat is not a revenue source. A cat is a pet. It's a companion. And there was no real logic or justification for it. And so I spoke out early and I said, say no to the cat tax. And guess what? The idea died, and that's the way it should be. We need to be rethinking about this, how to control the spending in city government, not asking San Diegans for more money at a time when most San Diego working families can least afford it.
Well then, let's follow up with that then in terms of, you know, yes, as a San Diego resident here, we do feel that we are taxed enough or more than enough here. But how can we balance our budget? I mean, every year it seems like school budgets, you know, are affected as well as the city government budgets. What can we do in order to balance that budget?
Well, I won't read all the 90 pages on the financial plan, but let me give you a quick summary. First, we need to reform city employee compensation and benefits. And I use a rule of thumb that a city employee should receive no better and no worse a salary, a benefit, and a retirement or pension than the working family San Diego resident who's footing the bill. We've seen over the years city employee compensation has really skyrocketed, and they're getting paid much more and receiving more benefits than what you would see in the nonprofit or private sector locally. We have to fix that. We have to have pension reform, and that's why I've introduced a comprehensive pension reform plan to end pension spiking. And this is where a city employee can add a bunch of different forms of compensation to spike their highest salary, and then their pension payments go on for the rest of their life based on that high salary. We need to reform the pensions, bring them back down to sustainable levels, and that's why I think new employees should be given 401ks and Social Security like the rest of us. We also have to open up city services to manage competition, competitive bidding. Let's go out there and see if the private sector or the nonprofit sector can provide a service in a cheaper way or a more cost-effective way for the city. One great example is landscaping. The city of San Diego has a lot of staff that they hire to just cut grass. Well, if you open up the yellow pages, you find a lot of people do landscaping. That's why we can open these services up to competition. And we're seeing savings on the order of 15 to 35% on every function that we put out to competitive bid. Finally, we need to do a thorough performance audit of every city department. And that performance audit needs to look at, are there ways for us to cut wasteful spending? Are there ways for us to streamline and reduce the layers of management and bureaucracy? Are there ways for us to do partnerships with other government entities to be more cost effective? These performance audits have already generated substantial savings recommendations, and I want to continue that practice as mayor and put those ideas into action.
You brought up three very important points there that kind of distinguish you from the other two Republican candidates that, you know, you've been very outspoken about these three of these top priorities of yours. Now, let's continue on with the San Diego Redistricting Commission,
Sure.
how they're carving out a 9th City Council district here. How would you, or how would the role of the mayor change, or would it change at all with the 9th Council district?
Well, when they expand the City Council and add a 9th council seat, the mayor will get a veto that will only be overridden by the City Council with a 2/3 vote. And that's important because it allows the mayor to more effectively lead and build coalitions on the city council. It's like herding the cats, not taxing them, but herding the cats of the city council members. When you have a veto, you can build those coalitions. And I think the 9th council seat provided us with an opportunity to really diversify the city council and provide a voice, a greater voice, for the Asian and Pacific Islander communities in San Diego. That's why when the commission was first created, I fought very strongly to make sure that we had representatives from the Asian and Pacific Islander community. I actually went out and recruited people to apply for the commission. I was the only council member really to raise that early on. And we did see the voice of the Asian and Pacific Islander communities during the redistricting process. We now have another council seat, and the council seat that has been created for the Asian and Pacific Islander community represents 33% of that entire council district will come from the Asian and Pacific Islander community in terms of votes. And that's important because whoever's elected in that community has to give priority and be very attentive. I'm hoping, though, that we'll have quality Asian and Pacific Islander candidates in 2012 and 2014 when these new boundaries actually have their council races. So if you're out there and you're thinking about giving back to the city government, think about running for the city council. It's a rewarding experience if you get into public service for the right reasons.
You know, you brought up some very good points, and you just answered my next question in terms of what would you be doing to help represent that 9th Council District with the Asian American community, and it seems like you already got that ball rolling in terms of when the San Diego Redistricting Commission was trying to find a panel of commissioners. You've encouraged Asian Americans to come forward and be part of that panel, and now you're encouraging people to come forward. Now, it seems like, you know, running for political office is it's a daunting task. I mean, it basically takes up 24
hours a day.
Yeah, you know, you don't really get to rest. You know, how would you encourage Asian Americans? I mean, we're very high on education, family values, and we like our privacy. So those are the 3 key things as an Asian American. And then to ask somebody to run for office, it's really a scary task because you're opening the doors to a lot of criticisms. And you're opening the doors.
Yeah, and look, if you're getting into public service for the right reason, criticism really doesn't matter because you're focused on trying to make things better. You're so focused on trying to solve a problem that originally encouraged you to run. If you're getting into public service for the wrong reason, if it's only about you and what your image is like, then you're probably going to be very concerned about criticism because it's all about you. And so I encourage people, don't run for public service, for political office, if you want to make it about yourself. Run because you want to make your community better. And then it's easy to just let the criticism roll off your back because people are going to, in politics, engage in personal attacks. I have always made it a rule that I do not respond to personal attacks because, frankly, I believe San Diegans are sick and tired of personal attacks and they want to see their business done in a respectful manner. And so what I do is I ignore it and say, okay, if you want to attack me personally, you know, whatever. But if you want to start talking about solutions, you got my attention. And that really changes the tone and the tenor of discussion. So I would encourage people, don't be intimidated by the political process. If you believe that you can make a difference, if you believe that there are issues in your neighborhood that you want to help solve, get involved. And it may not be running for office, it may be serving on a board or a commission, and you got to start somewhere. So get involved, and you never know where that's going to lead.
Thank you so much there for your time. There you have it. That was City Councilman Carl DeMaio and mayoral candidate for 2012. And here at VNTV, we are once again committed to educating our viewers about the political process. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jackie Nguyen.